They were banned across Europe, not recalled, not relabeled, but banned for links to cancer, hormone disruption, and brain damage. Yet here in the US, those same fruits are sold by the pound, cheerfully promoted as healthy snacks in stores like Walmart, Kroger, and even Whole Foods. According to new pesticide audits from Pan-Europe, the Clean Label Project, and Consumer Reports in early 2025, 10 fruits currently sold in America contain chemical residues that would be illegal to sell in France, Germany, or Sweden. One sample of blueberries from Sam's Club showed fludioxonil levels nearly 6 times the EU limit. Aldi's peaches? Still testing positive for chlorpyrifos, a neurotoxin the US EPA banned in food crops back in 2022. So here's the real question. Why are American consumers still swallowing what Europe has already rejected? This isn't about luxury or preference. It's about food systems that protect profit over public health, and the cracks are showing. This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today we're exposing 10 fruits banned in Europe, but still flooding American stores. Number 1, Walmart strawberries. They glimmer like polished rubies behind plastic lids, perfectly stacked at Walmart under that relentless fluorescent glow. The kind that makes anything look fresh if you squint just right. Affordable, plentiful, and always in stock. These strawberries are pitched as everyday luxury, even when wallets are worn thin. A box for under $4? That's not just fruit, that's a little piece of normal, a quiet treat when everything else feels out of reach. But here's what they won't print on the price tag. In the eyes of Europe, these berries aren't food, they're a warning label. According to the USDA's March 2025 residue report, over 96% of non-organic strawberries from major American chains, including Walmart, tested positive for pesticide residue. More than 80% carry traces of chemicals banned across Europe. We're talking about fenpropathrine, a neurotoxin tied to motor function damage, and thiabendazole, flagged for hormone interference. These aren't microscopic leftovers. In some cases, the levels were over 10 times higher than what the EU considers remotely safe. So why do they keep showing up in our breakfast bowls? A Bloomberg investigation dropped another bombshell just a month earlier. Turns out many of these strawberries came from industrial mega farms in California and Mexico, some of which had already been cited for abusive labor conditions. And it gets worse. Human Rights Watch filed a complaint in late 2024 detailing chemical exposure of undocumented field workers, many of them over 60, without masks or proper protections. One man, age 67, reportedly collapsed mid-shift after hours spent near chloropicrin fumigation, a pesticide so toxic it's banned in over 20 European countries. That berry box doesn't say grown on trauma, but maybe it should. Meanwhile, countries like Germany and Sweden won't even allow imports of these strawberries. Yet in America, they flood our stores, riding Walmart's logistical empire from field to fridge without pause. That's not just a loophole. That's a system choosing profit over protection, time and time again, where the price of freshness is quietly passed on to your health and to the backs of those who picked it. To be fair, Walmart isn't a cartoon villain. They're under enormous pressure to deliver cheap produce in food deserts where no one else will. Cutting ties with industrial suppliers could make shelves go empty, and empty shelves don't feed anyone. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the real issue isn't a single box of strawberries. Maybe it's the machine behind it, where food is manufactured like widgets, people are reduced to labor costs, and safety is optional so long as the price tag stays low. Here's the good news. Power still sits on your plate. Many local farmers markets now accept EBT and offer seasonal strawberries grown without synthetic sprays. Aldi and Lidl carry frozen organic options with sourcing aligned to EU safety rules. Even growing a few strawberries on a balcony or porch can make a difference. Or try organic berry powders. They're shelf-stable, affordable, and available even at bargain stores. So next time you pass those perfect berries glinting in aisle 4, ask yourself, what exactly are you buying? Fruit or a symptom of something far more rotten? Number 2, Kroger. Grapes. They sit there like candy from the gods, perfectly round, shimmering in clamshells, whispering promises of health and indulgence in one juicy bite. At Kroger, grapes are more than fruit. They're comfort disguised as convenience. And for many folks watching every penny, they feel like a guilt-free pleasure. A bag of green or red grapes, chilled in the fridge, becomes an afternoon treat that feels almost luxurious. 2-for-1 deals, familiar branding, and year-round supply. It's the kind of everyday abundance that makes Kroger feel like a dependable friend. But peel back the shine, and what you find underneath is more bitter than sweet. In June 2025, the USDA's official pesticide data dropped a bombshell that barely made the news cycle. Grapes, particularly those imported by Kroger's distributors on the West Coast and across the South, ranked in the top 5 for toxic pesticide residues. One chemical stood out: dimethoate. Banned by the European Union since 2009 for its connection to nerve damage, it was still showing up in Kroger grapes at levels up to 12 times higher than EU safety limits. And this isn't some distant scientific abstract. This neurotoxin has been tied to memory loss, tremors, and developmental issues. That's a punch straight to seniors and grandkids alike. But it doesn't stop at chemicals. A joint investigation by Reuters and Farm Worker Justice in January 2025 uncovered troubling labor conditions tied to Kroger's grape supply chain. In fields stretching from California to Chile, workers described punishing 14-hour days with barely any breaks, even during pesticide application. No masks, no gloves, just long hours and coughing fits. At least 3 miscarriages were suspected to be linked to these toxic exposures, and yet the grapes kept shipping out, cheerful labels untouched and profits unshaken. Now here's what stings. These exact grapes would be flat out rejected at European borders. Countries like Germany and Sweden don't mess around. Their laws prohibit any fruit with dimethoate or acephate from entering shelves. Yet here in the US, Kroger's clamshells get a prime spot in the produce aisle. No warnings, no disclosure. Just another healthy choice hiding behind American loopholes. Still, before we let outrage consume us, it's worth noting Kroger is operating in a system built for speed, scale, and survival. If they demanded only EU-compliant grapes, the price would spike nearly 40%. For low-income families, that's the difference between fruit and no fruit at all. Maybe it's not about evil intentions, but a broken system that's crushing ethics under the weight of global demand. So when you toss that bag of grapes into your cart, it's fair to ask, who paid the price so you didn't have to? If you'd rather not be part of that silent exchange, there are better paths. Frozen organic grapes from brands like 365 or Nature's Touch offer pesticide-free snacking without the risk. Some local orchards even deliver CSA boxes direct to your door, no chemicals needed. And if fresh grapes are your thing, soaking them in baking soda and water for 15 minutes works better than those fancy produce sprays. No marketing, just chemistry. Number 3, Costco. Apples. They shine like little trophies of health in Costco's towering produce displays, perfectly waxed, bagged by the dozen, and practically begging to be tossed into your cart. Crisp, juicy, dependable, apples have been sold to us as the ultimate health snack for generations. And with Costco's reputation for bulk value, it's easy to see why shoppers trust those 6-pound bags without blinking. It feels like smart shopping. Get more, pay less, feed the family. But what if that trusted apple, the one your grandkid snacks on, the one you slice into your oatmeal, is hiding more than just seeds? In April 2025, the Environmental Defense Fund and Consumer Reports released a pesticide residue analysis that pulled the curtain back, and Costco's apples were smack in the spotlight. Nearly 92% of non-organic apples tested had multiple pesticide residues. But it's not just quantity, it's the kind of chemicals found. Diphenylamine, or DPA, showed up repeatedly, especially in apples sourced from Washington state farms that supply Costco. Here's the catch. DPA has been banned in the European Union since 2014 over concerns it could form cancer-linked nitrosamines. And yet Costco's apples carry levels over 4 times higher than what Europe would even allow through its ports. But that's only half the story. In May 2025, a leaked audit from a third-party compliance firm flagged a Costco supplier in Yakima Valley for persistent detection of chlorpyrifos, a neurotoxic pesticide officially banned by the EPA in food crops back in 2021. So why is it still showing up? The likely culprit: residue drift from nearby fields, outdated storage practices, and regulatory blind spots that allow legacy contamination to slip past. Costco, relying on these loopholes and slow inventory cycles, continued selling apples that carried ghosts of chemicals long gone from the rulebooks. Even more disturbing is what's happening to the folks picking these apples. A February 2025 report from Migrant Justice told stories that feel more 19th century than 21st. Undocumented workers described coughing fits hours after chemical fogging, crowded bunkhouses with zero inspections, and deductions from paychecks for bruised apples they didn't damage. The fruit passed inspection, the lives didn't. And yet, while European countries block these exact apples from entering their markets, in America they roll into Costco by the pallet, gleaming, polished, and advertised as grown with care. That care seems to end somewhere between the orchard and the shipping dock. Now, let's be honest. Costco isn't trying to poison people. Their whole model depends on keeping food affordable for big families, seniors, and budget-conscious shoppers. If they were to overhaul their apple supply and go fully organic, prices could jump up to 70%. That would knock fresh fruit out of reach for the very people they aim to serve. So Costco is stuck, trapped between mass appeal and chemical compromise. But here's the real gut punch. When something as wholesome as an apple starts behaving like a Trojan horse for banned pesticides, maybe it's time we stop assuming bulk means better. Want to make the switch? Trader Joe's now offers organic apples grown to EU standards, free from DPA and chlorpyrifos, though availability may vary. U.S. orchard co-ops are another great option. Many sell directly through food hubs with full ingredient and origin transparency. And if you're game to try, dwarf apple trees like Fuji and Honeycrisp can grow right on your porch with minimal fuss, a spritz of neem oil and baking soda, and you've got fruit that's clean and chemical-free. So here's the question. When the price tag looks right, but the risks are invisible, is the apple still a symbol of health or just a very shiny distraction? Number 4, Sam's Club, blueberries. They come in cheerful tubs big enough to feed a church picnic, plump little blueberries, frozen and fresh, stacked proudly in Sam's Club freezers like health in a box. Superfood is the label, and bulk savings is the game. The Members Mark brand promises high standards in direct-from-farm sourcing, and for older shoppers trying to stretch a retirement check, it all feels like a win. Nutrition, convenience, and a price that doesn't break the bank. But behind that promise of wellness is a quiet threat no label dares mention, a cocktail of pesticides that Europe won't even let pass customs. In July 2025, Consumer Reports sent samples of frozen blueberries from 5 major retailers to independent labs. The worst results? Sam's Club's members mark. Tests revealed disturbingly high levels of fludioxonil and cypermethrin, two chemicals banned in several European countries due to their links to hormone disruption and nervous system damage. These weren't just invisible traces. Residue levels were nearly 6 times higher than the maximum allowed in the EU. And where did they come from? Peru and Chile, two regions with pesticide regulations so weak, even the export inspectors shrugged. But then came the gut punch. A month later, a joint report from ProPublica and the NRDC exposed that the very facility supplying members marked blueberries had been hiding food safety violations for years. Former workers described containers sprayed with methyl bromide, a chemical banned worldwide under the Montreal Protocol. Why? To make the berries look fresher, last longer, and arrive in perfect condition. On the surface, they gleam like good health. Beneath that shine, ozone-depleting neurotoxins, quietly hitching a ride from South America into U.S. homes. Europe wasn't having it. In April 2025, the European Food Safety Authority shut the door on Peruvian blueberry imports entirely after similar contamination showed up in ports like Rotterdam. Meanwhile, in the U.S., there was no recall, no warning, and no revised label. In fact, Sam's Club kept promoting the berries online, with smiling kids holding lunchboxes. There's irony, and then there's this. And the human cost? According to fair trade monitors, laborers on those farms worked long shifts during fumigation, without masks or gloves. One whistleblower even described workers fainting in the fields. But the berries? They made their way north, safe-looking, cold-packed, and marketed straight into our morning smoothies. Look, Sam's Club isn't twirling a mustache. Like Walmart, they're caught in a system that pits low prices against clean sourcing. And in this race, quality often loses. Customers expect both affordability and safety. But today's supply chain rarely delivers both at once. Someone, somewhere, always pays. If you're ready to opt out, you've got options. Wild blueberries from Maine or Canada, available at Sprouts or through online organic subscriptions, are naturally low in pesticides and flash frozen without chemicals. Want a budget-friendly bulk option? Azure Standard sells frozen organic berries from farms that publish their soil and spray practices, or turn it into a summer ritual. Many local farms offer You Pick days where you can fill your freezer with berries you trust, straight from the bush. So the next time you reach for that gallon bag, ask yourself, is it still a bargain if it comes with a side of invisible toxins and someone else's sacrifice? Maybe it's time we counted more than just pounds per dollar. Number 5, Trader Joe's clementines. They look like a bowl of sunshine, smooth, bright, and neatly packed in mesh bags that practically smile at you from the Trader Joe's produce section. Clementines, those seedless, easy peel favorites, are sold as nature's candy with a clean conscience. Add the Trader Joe's flair, playful labels like Sweetie Smiles and Cuties, handwritten signs, and that homespun vibe, and it's easy to believe you're making the safest choice in the aisle. For retirees trying to eat healthy without draining the grocery budget, these clementines feel like the perfect treat. But sometimes what's hiding under the peel has nothing to do with fruit. In March 2025, the European Commission officially banned citrus imports treated with imazalil, a fungicide the World Health Organization classifies as a probable human carcinogen. That same month, testing by the Center for Food Safety found Trader Joe's clementines, especially those from California's Central Valley and Spanish suppliers, routinely exceeded the EU's safety limit for imazalil by over 8 times. Even worse, this chemical didn't just sit on the surface. It had soaked into the peel, meaning a rinse under the tap won't save you. Then came the real sucker punch. In February 2025, workers at one of the Spanish farms supplying Trader Joe's filed a legal complaint. They described long-term exposure to unregulated post-harvest treatments like ethylene gas and synthetic waxes, substances linked to respiratory distress, hormone disruption, and chemical burns. These chemicals are restricted or banned in Europe. In the US, no label, no warning. Just more citrus packed with sunshine. And here's the part that should make anyone's jaw drop. A shipment of these exact clementines was rejected at the port of Antwerp in January 2025. Not because of mold, not because of damage, but because they failed Europe's pesticide thresholds. Instead of being discarded, the whole shipment was rerouted to the Port of Oakland and cleared for sale in US stores within 3 weeks. Same fruit, same box, but a wildly different set of rules depending on where you live. Trader Joe's doesn't pretend these are organic, but the branding, the doodles, the quirky names, the homey charm creates an illusion of purity. It's not a lie, but it's not quite the truth either. It's that soft middle ground where marketing does the heavy lifting and consumers are left guessing. Now let's be real, Trader Joe's isn't running a secret lab. They're stuck in the same broken system as everyone else. One where keeping fruit on the shelves year-round means cutting deals with global suppliers that don't always meet the highest standards. If they switch to EU-compliant citrus only, shelves could go empty in winter and prices might double. In a country that values convenience over caution, they're just playing the game. But you don't have to. Organic Satsuma mandarins from California's San Joaquin Valley, stocked at food co-ops and natural grocers, meet strict safety thresholds. Frozen or bottled organic citrus from brands like Suja and Uncle Matt's are now available at stores like Target and Thrive Market. And if you've got patio space, dwarf citrus trees give fruit with minimal fuss, no fake wax, no gas treatments, just sun, water, and time. So the next time you reach for that cheerful bag of clementines, ask yourself, are we just peeling the surface, or is it time to strip away the layers of comfort and see what's really underneath? Number 6, Aldi peaches. They sit there like a summer dream wrapped in budget logic, golden peaches, stacked in crates, frozen in bags, or tucked into neat little cans with the no-nonsense Aldi label. For so many shoppers, especially older Americans living on fixed incomes, Aldi feels like a rare win. Quality without the markup, nutrition without the guilt. And peaches, they're sunshine you can eat. Toss them into cobblers, smoothies, or school lunches. No fuss, no frills, just flavor. But what if that juicy deal is actually soaked in something far less sweet? In May 2025, a joint report from the U.S. Public Interest Research Group in Pan-Europe exposed Aldi peaches as some of the most contaminated across all major grocery chains in America. The primary offender? Chlorpyrifos, a neurotoxin so dangerous it was banned by the European Union back in 2020 and phased out by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency in 2022. Yet somehow Aldi peaches, especially canned and frozen varieties, were still testing positive for it well into 2025. How is that even possible? Through a loophole you won't see on the label. Many of Aldi's processed peaches come from countries like Turkey, Chile, and South Africa, where chlorpyrifos is still allowed on stone fruits. While the EU blocks these imports outright, the US allows them through what are called tolerance exemptions, a legal gray zone that effectively lets banned chemicals sneak in with no consumer warning. One sample tested in a Louisville Aldi showed 0.9 parts per million of chlorpyrifos, over 5 times the EU's zero-tolerance standard. That's not farm to table, that's poison to pantry. And it gets worse. A whistleblower report in March 2025 alleged that Aldi's own distribution centers in Illinois and Georgia had underreported pesticide residue levels multiple times. According to the claim, at least 8 internal test results were scrubbed, quietly revised to avoid USDA inspections. While Aldi publicly denied the accusation, a confidential internal review was launched in June. As of today, the results are still under wraps. Here's the kicker. In Europe, Aldi operates under a completely different rule book. Their German and UK divisions regularly reject fruit with any chlorpyrifos traces. But here in the US, where Aldi has built a reputation on European standards, those very standards seem to vanish the moment the peaches hit American soil. Let's be clear, Aldi isn't some cartoon villain. Their low-cost model helps thousands afford real food. Grandparents on SSI, parents using EBT, and caretakers juggling groceries and gas money. But when affordability depends on sourcing from countries with loose chemical rules and shaving costs on quality checks, what exactly are we trading away? So if those same peaches wouldn't make it past a European port, why are we still serving them for dessert? Better choices are out there. Organic peaches from West Coast cooperatives or trusted farms like Frog Hollow or Pearson deliver clean fruit with traceable origins. For frozen options, 365 by Whole Foods and Costco's Kirkland Signature offer organic peach slices that consistently test well below US and EU pesticide limits. Or go old school, buy a box of ripe peaches at the height of summer, slice them yourself, and freeze them for the year. No mystery chemicals, just real fruit and a little work. Next time you see a bargain bag of peaches at Aldi, ask yourself, are you saving money or just outsourcing the real cost to your body? Number 7. Whole Foods, cherries. They sit in polished wood crates, wrapped in minimalist packaging, glowing like little rubies beneath Whole Foods golden lights, cherries that whisper health, luxury, and purity. For retirees willing to pay a bit more for peace of mind, Whole Foods feels like a promise in edible form. The words responsibly grown and sourced with care float beside the price tag like moral insulation. You're not just buying fruit, you're buying virtue. But what if that halo is hiding a chemical time bomb? In April 2025, the Clean Label Project released a report that shattered the illusion. Testing cherries from premium grocers, they found Whole Foods whole trade and conventional USA cherries carried some of the highest levels of acetamiprid and pyraclostrobin, pesticides linked to suppressed immune function, liver toxicity, and developmental harm. Every single cherry tested from Whole Foods locations in California and Texas exceeded European safety limits, some by as much as 13 times. That's not an oversight. That's a feature of the system. And it wasn't a fluke. The USDA's own pesticide data program, updated in May 2025, ranked cherries as the second most contaminated non-organic fruit, just behind strawberries. Many of the cherries at Whole Foods came from enormous orchards in Washington state that had failed sustainability audits multiple times. Yet those same growers were still able to label their produce as responsibly grown through self-reporting loopholes. That's right, the same farms flagged for pesticide overuse passed Whole Foods' internal standards. It's like grading your own homework and calling it a diploma. But the real gut punch came from an exposé by The Guardian, also in April. It revealed that some of Whole Foods' cherry suppliers used methyl iodide, a soil fumigant so toxic it was banned in Europe in 2011 and voluntarily phased out in California years ago. But through private contracts and third-party intermediaries, it's still being used in cherry farms tied to Whole Foods. When questioned, the company stated that their partners comply with local laws. That's not the same as global safety. It's the difference between legal and ethical, and it leaves a bitter aftertaste. And the whole trade guarantee? It might sound like a badge of honor, but here's the catch. It only applies to imported produce. So while Whole Foods proudly ensures fair wages for farmers in Peru or Guatemala, the seasonal workers harvesting cherries in Washington, often undocumented, uninsured, and unprotected, get none of those promises. Is it betrayal? Maybe, but Whole Foods is now part of Amazon, and idealism doesn't keep shelves full or shareholders happy. The brand still wears the language of purity, but the supply chain says otherwise. When ethical fruit turns out to be soaked in banned pesticides, what's left to believe? Thankfully, there are ways to reclaim trust in your health. Organic Rainier or Montmorency cherries from Pacific Northwest co-ops often offer direct-to-home delivery during harvest season. Frozen options from Cascadian Farm or Patagonia Provisions come with pesticide reports and transparent sourcing. And for year-round flavor, dried organic cherries might cost more, but they usually come from small farms with tighter safety standards, and they last for months. If this shook you, imagine what else is hiding in your fridge. Subscribe now. The truth doesn't stop here.
Thanks so much for sticking with us to the very end. If you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe so you won't miss any of our daily updates. And now feel free to check out some of our latest and most popular videos showing up on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next one.